Coming up on this, the final episode of Hands on iOS, I'm going to show you my favorite apps. Hands on iOS is brought to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
This is Twit.
Yes, folks, that is right. You heard it, and you heard it. This is the last episode of Hands on iOS. We are saying sayonara to many of our hands-on shows in favor of something greater and better than you could ever imagine. It is the creation of it's not even really the creation of, it is the existence of and betterification of our hands-on tech show. So you know about Hands on Tech, twit.tv/HOT hot. And now that will become the home to all kinds of hands-on content. It's the place where we will do reviews of products. It's the place where we will cover those big questions, the rundowns of new versions of iOS, for example. And if you're looking for answers to your specific questions or troubleshooting tips and things like that, that's all right, because I got another show. It's called iOS Today. You probably heard of it. I do it on Tuesdays. That show is where you can go, twit.tv/iOS, to have your questions answered about iOS. But the rest of it now at twit.tv/HOT. So worry not. Those questions will still be answered, those products will still be reviewed, and we will still take our hands and put them on tech, but it's just going to be in a new place. But until then, you can check out this last and final episode where I thought I'd talk about some of my favorite apps. That sounds fun, right? So let us take a look. The first app that I want to talk about is my favorite podcasting application. This is Pocket Casts. Yes, folks, Pocket Casts is an app that has been a favorite of mine for ages and ages and ages and ages because it is just so fantastic. It is a universal app, practically, meaning that I can use this here on my iPad, I can use it on my iPhone, I can use it on my Mac, I can use it on an Android device, I could use it on a plane, if I ever got on a plane, in a train, etc., etc. You get the idea. It is available everywhere, and it is made by the ever incredible Rusty Shelf. That's his name on Twitter. But Russell Ivanovich, who is one of the co-founders of Shifty Jelly, the company that made Pocket Casts. And he's a good friend of mine, and that kind of got me interested in trying out the app after using some other podcast apps before that time. And I made the switch, and I have never looked back. Pocket Casts has everything that I want, and honestly, so much more. So in this main tab here, you can see my list of podcasts that I've subscribed to over time, as well as these shows, which I have saved so that we can always check to make sure if there's something wrong with the feed or something like that. But for example, Office Ladies, I want to tap on that. One of the cool things that this app does is it'll take a little bit of color out of whatever show artwork you're currently looking at, and it will pop that color into that top bar there. So for my Clockwise podcast, it does that nice dark blue that's there, gray blue. And then it has, all the information like, I'll hit play here just so you can kind of see what the play screen looks like.
It's time for episode 300.
You can see the now playing mode. You can see notes for the show. You can see the chapters for the show. And look, as you play, it will also, the duration of that will change. So you can kind of see how far along in each of these chapters you are. It has some of the expected additions, including the ability to up the speed, to trim out silence. That means it will sort of listen ahead to the podcast and look for little bits where no one is speaking and just trim those down a little bit. And so you can see there's mild, medium, and Mad Max versions to super trim out all those silences, or a little bit trim out all those silences, or very subtly trim out the silences, and volume boost, which helps to improve podcasts that have trouble kind of equalizing the voices of the different hosts, then turning that on. I typically have these features turned on at all times, but those are just features that you probably would want regardless of the podcast app you're using. And it's also got a sleep timer that you can set exactly how you want, and some sorting features and things like that as well. So you can, set up lists for, I only want the latest podcast of these few shows. I want to see those first, that kind of thing. And then, of course, a way to share a link to the podcast itself, a specific episode of the podcast, or the current position of the current podcast that you're listening to. So if there's a clip that you're really wanting to share and get out there, it lets you do that. I have found that this is just a fantastic app. See, I don't even use filters because I don't need them. But a fantastic app for doing all sorts of that. And then Discovery is even quite great, so that you can see what podcasts are trending, what are some of the best podcasts that are available. And so it's as if Pocket Casts has its own library of podcasts to help you find what you're looking for. And then the last area is the profile, and this shows you how many days of podcasts you've listened to, how many days you've saved by using the trim silence feature. So I've saved 7 days worth of listening thanks to that trim silence feature. And so you can create an account and then log in on the different devices to have those sync up. It's a fantastic podcast app, and it is definitely my pick for one of my favorite apps of all time for iOS. Up next, an app for editing photos. No, not an app for editing photos, the app for editing photos on the iPad. That is Pixelmator Photo. Pixelmator Photo is already an incredible app, but for me, a person who is not a photographer really, is someone who wants to take a photo and then maybe make some adjustments to it and have it be exactly what I want. This app does that. It's got machine learning features built in. So I'm going to choose Edit here in the top right corner, and that will bring up the editing mode. It loads the photo, and you'll see in the top here, there are different buttons. There's a little magic wand with the letters ML next to it. There is some dots, there's a little bandage, there's a crop feature, and there is a settings icon. So when I tap on the settings icon, it lets you make adjustments to the photo as you'd like, and then also brings up filters and things like that. But what I want to show you, something that I tend to do just with any photo I take, I just hit that ML button. That is the machine learning feature that tries to look at the photo, determine what it is, determine the kind of scene you've set up, and then make the photo look good, regardless of what it is. So I'll tap that button, and you can see it had already processed the photo. It took some of the cast out of the photo, the color cast out of the photo. It seems to be that it sharpened it up a little bit and brought some things into focus. And then if I tap on these the settings icon over here, I can see what it did. It adjusted the white balance, the hue and the saturation, the lightness. Look at all those changes it made. The color balance, it made some adjustments there. Some selective color changes as well, boosted the saturation of certain areas. And then you can go on to add some other options, including replacing colors, black and white, doing sepia, fading it out, adding some grain, and sharpening the photo as well. So you can see that it actually did sharpen the photo up a little bit. That next icon to the right of the machine learning icon is one that is kind of important, because what it does is it is a machine learning feature that lets you change the resolution of the photo to make the photo even higher resolution. So tapping on that would make it so that and I'll go ahead and do this. It's called ML Super Resolution. It processes the photo by looking at it, is crunching those details, is trying to figure out what the photo is made up of. And at the end of it, it's going to make a photo that's a lot bigger than it currently is. And it uses machine learning to do so, adding loads more detail to the image so that when you zoom in, there's no loss, or there's very little loss in that sharpness. So once this finishes crunching, what I'm going to do is zoom in kind of rather heavily to show you the changes that it's made on sort of the pixel scale. So it's just finished doing that. And as I zoom in, you can see that this is a lot sharper than it was before. And it uses, as I said, machine learning technology to pull that off. Now, if I were to turn that off again and then turn it back on, then you can kind of see, and it's loading to show you the subtle differences there. There we go. So now you can see that there's a lot of noise in this unedited photo here on the left. And as I bring this over, there's a loss of that noise, that sort of softness, and it helps to sharpen out the photo a little bit more. You can really see it with that nub there and that speck of glitter. Here we've got a pretty soft nub, and as we take that to the left and see the new version, you can see how it sharpens it up, makes those shadows a little bit more detailed, and really adds to, and look at the flakes there on the cranberries. Those get a lot sharper as well. So it just adds to the resolution of the photo and makes that look a lot better. And then also, this is showing what the machine learning is doing as well. Do you see in the background how in the unedited version, there's that yellow cast to the photo, yellowy, orangey cast. When I pull that away, it takes that cast away and reduces that quite a bit. So that is Pixelmator Photo, and it is a must-have on the iPad, an absolute must-have on the iPad. The next app I want to show you is one called Annotable. And it is an annotation app that I use on my iPhone and my iPad. It is a fantastic way to annotate photos and documents and all sorts of things. So we'll launch Annotable, and we will pull up a photo here. Let's do this one. So you can see this is a normal photo here, and I can access different tools. On the right and on the left is the option to make adjustments to those tools. So I'll tap on the right, and here are all of the tools that we have available. In the bottom, there's a crop tool. There are shadow tools, so you can sort of make the whole photo dark with a little bit of a translucency, except for the areas you expose using either a square, a circle, or kind of like a sketch with a brush. Then there's the pixelation feature here and mosaic feature. Up next are different text tools. So there's a way to add text here. Or rather, this is adding text, highlighting text, and redacting text. And then now they're kind of hidden, so let me move my face out of the way there. You've got different tools to draw on the actual photo. So an arrow, a line, and a sort of sketch option. And then you can draw a circle, a square, and a rounded rectangle. And then the last one is the loop option. So I will start by doing the reveal feature. I click and drag, and it only pulls up that part. And by the way, when you hold down, you can see that it shows you kind of a zoomed in version so that you can be very, very detailed with how, and very precise with how you set this up. So I'll undo that one because I don't want that there. But then we'll go back down to the tool, and we'll choose the loop tool. A lot of people like to use that loop tool. And I will select November here. So I'll rearrange this, and you can see there are different blue adjustment circles. The middle adjustment circle changes where the loop is focused. The outer adjustment circle changes the size of the loop. And then the bottom left corner, we can change to different colors for the border around the loop, as well as different magnifications. And this slider here on the right is for adjusting the thickness of the border on the outside. So that is kind of where I want that one. But I want to show you too that you can take this, and I'll drag my loop down here, and then I'll take that middle adjustment slider, and instead of having it inside of the circle, now I'm going to have it outside of the circle. So you can see that you can actually set an indicator to point right to where you are zooming in. This is just so helpful. There are so many built-in tools here, including, like I said, the text highlighter, where you can actually, it recognizes text on the screen and lets you easily highlight portions of those text. To point out different things as well is very handy. It is one of the best designed and easiest to use annotation apps that I've ever come across on iOS. The next one is the Deliveries app. The Deliveries app is a way to track, as you might imagine, deliveries across different areas and different streaming services, or not streaming services, but delivery services. So when you place an order, you can drop that order into the Deliveries app, and it will show you the delivery route that it's taken. It'll show you kind of where it started, where it's ending up. You can easily view online if you want to see the actual USPS, in this case, information. You can add deliveries by hitting that plus button in the top right corner, and then you can get notifications of your deliveries. So I get a little notification at the start of my day to let me know the current state of different packages and where those currently are. And so in this case, I'm tracking different gifts for people, and it's been very easy to do so because of this app. It integrates with Amazon very well. It integrates with Apple very well, and it integrates incredibly well with UPS, FedEx, USPS. So if you are a United States based individual, this app is great for you. I have heard that if you live outside of the United States, it might be a little difficult to use, or rather less helpful to use. The next one that I have to mention is, it's an iOS app, or it's an Apple created app, but it is one of my favorites, and that's the Home app. This is the app where I do all of my smart home control and customization. So I've got my scenes here. I've got, my different accessories. I can make adjustments to those accessories. I get little notifications up in the top, status notifications, like whether there's someone in the dining room, what the current temperature is, and some information related to air quality, the different lights that are on in the house. I can set up automations in this app and then make adjustments to individual rooms as well. So this app is one that I use almost every day. Well, no, definitely every day to make all sorts of adjustments. Up next would be Fantastical, which is my calendar of choice. I'm not going to show a whole lot about Fantastical because I talk about Fantastical all the time. iOS Today, Leo and I have talked a lot about how much we love Fantastical. But if you're looking for a calendar app other than the basic calendar, Fantastical is the calendar app to use. It is fantastic. It has so much more packed into it. I could do an episode just on Fantastical, and I kind of wish, that I could. But alas, that is not going to be the case. And then I have to give a special shout out. Yes, they are a sponsor of the network, but I'm not lying to you when I say that ExpressVPN is the app that I use as my virtual private network. In fact, if you look in the top right corner of the status bar there, you'll see that the VPN is currently turned on. It pretty much is always running. I have it down here in my launch bar, actually, so I can tap on ExpressVPN and you see that it's currently connected. And remember how we say it's, you tap it and it's done? That really is how it works. I've just tapped it and it disconnects. I tap it again and it loads and connects to the ExpressVPN server, and it's done and it's ready to go. If you are looking for a VPN that protects, that respects your privacy and does not log your activity, that is ExpressVPN. Can't say it enough. Yes, they are a sponsor, but again, I really do use them and have them on all of my devices because it is a fantastic virtual private network. So it had to make the list of my favorite apps. The only other one that I want to mention is my reminder app of choice, which is called Do. Do is the app that lets you be reminded of things regularly. Some reminder apps are kind of to-do apps, and you sort of check a box after you've completed a thing. And that's just not the same experience as what I need as a person who sort of needs to be bugged repeatedly. Hey, you need to do this thing. You need to do this thing. Have you done this thing? No, you should do this thing. That is what Do does for you. So, for example, currently I've got an overdue item. I need to send Ant some Pro RAW photos, as Apple has released Pro RAW on the iPhone. And it is 13 minutes overdue. When I tap on this, you'll see that I can postpone it. So I'm going to postpone it for an hour. And now in 46 minutes, it's going to say, hey, Micah, you need to send Ant those Pro RAW photos. And I'll say, oh, you're right. I do need to do that. And if I don't do it in 46 minutes, it will keep bugging me every 15 minutes until I either postpone it until later or get it done and I'm able to check it off. And I drop my pin. So if you are looking for an app that will sort of not let you forget to do a thing, and keeps telling you have to do the thing until you get it done. It's very helpful for medicine, for example. Then this is the app to do that with. This is absolutely the app for you. And it absolutely, again, had to make my list of favorite iOS apps on both iOS, iPadOS, and it's on macOS. Folks, that is my list. A quick look at some of my favorite apps for iOS. Of course, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm at Micah Sargent on Twitter, or Micah at twit.tv if you have questions for me there. This being the last episode of Hands on iOS, all I will say is, hey, go check out Hands on Tech if you're not subscribed, twit.tv/HOT, because that is where we will be producing content that we would normally do or would previously do on these hands-on shows. We will be doing them there on Hands on Tech. Thank you so much to my loyal subscribers and listeners who have tuned in to every episode of Hands on iOS this year. I do appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to continuing to answer your questions related to iOS and the surrounding Apple stuff on iOS today. So be sure to tune in the new year, and I hope you have a great rest of this year. Until next time, I've been Micah Sargent, and this is Hands on iOS.
I'm Jason Howell, host of Tech News Weekly here on twit.tv, along with my co-host Micah Sargent. Each and every week, we talk to people who are making and breaking the tech news. It could be journalists writing amazing tech stories. It could be experts. It could be the sources of the stories themselves, developers, you name it. We bring them onto the show and we talk to them about why their story is resonating with the world. You can watch and subscribe by going to twit.tv/TNW. Make sure you do that and you won't miss a single episode. We'll see you there.